Well, let's see. I had important things to tell you about this before we started. Darn if I know what they were. Okay. So this is another piece from Mel Stabin's book. And I have if you could see the page from the book. Okay, there, I think you could see it. If you see the page from the book, you can see where the man is located within the whole photo. I think it's important for you to be aware of that because the way that I've drawn him, I've just drawn basically the figure and given you some background areas to work on, and you don't get the full feel of it. Something like this is really best. It's hard to hold on to here. This is really divided into thirds. The man is right on, if you divided this into thirds, the man is just straddling the first line there of the thirds. And that's a good placement for him. Like what we're doing basically because of space and saving, your watercolor paper, because this is a practice thing. You're not going to show it, so because it's someone else's work. But well, the way you see him, he's situated right in the middle, which is really pretty bad. This is very nice. Another thing I want you to notice, because your copy is very dark, because it's dark from this. So I want you to remember this is white paper. That's all. Okay. Let's put that away. We could start with this just anywhere, and I still haven't even made up my mind. When we did the woman, I had you starting basically with the. I'm gonna fold this so that we can get more of this in the frame. When we started with the woman, I started working on her face and all of that. And that's not always the way to go with it. Here's something I'd like for you to notice. Charles Reed has got this thing when he does a drawing. Before he starts painting on it, he takes an eraser and he erases some parts of it out, or almost all the way out, because he loves these lost edges. And if you look at this piece, you will see that there are pencil lines here that you can just barely find. But see, this is basically a lost edge. He does give you a little outline of the boot, but it's essentially a lost edge. And you'll notice that he goes from very light to very dark. Look at this boot. It goes from just white to a shadow on the boot. So he's exaggerating a lot of this. Oh, and in his book, which you don't have, a few of you have ordered this, I think. But in his book, he mentions something here that I think is important to think about. I wouldn't look at it as a hard, fast rule, but it's something he probably does a lot with these. He says, let's see, detail should be suggested in either the light area or the shadow area of a shape, but not in both. So he's saying that if you put detail, like look at this boot. See, there's shading in the boot. There's a little thingy there. There's stuff going on. And then the white part is just blank. If you look at the shirt has stripes on it, but you only see the stripes in some areas. This area that is basically a shadow area, he totally left the stripes out of it. So back here, the on the head, this dark area, you can barely discern where his hair stops and the shadow and the hat start. That's another lost edge, but that's where he's also left out detail. He totally left detail out of the cheek here, and quite frankly, it's just as well because I think, well, I don't know. Okay, we'll leave that alone. So I have got here, he's used a very limited palette. You can see some actual blue in your copy. You can see some actual blue in here, which I think is quite nice. He's got the greens, which are on the olive side. The skin, and the shading on the hands, the skin, and then this area of stonework back in here. I think those are all the same red, or they look to be. You can see some shadow in here that's an extension of the background. So even though he's got a white shirt, or with gray stripes or something like that, he's got this greenish area here, these greenish spots. And that's sort of a transition area between out here and in here. So it kind of pulls the area together. And then if I look at the boot, this is sort of a greenish gray in here. There's a little echo of this area down in here. So he's pulled that color around in there. Yeah. Okay. Those are just things I wanted you to observe and think about. Now, what am I going to do first? I don't have a plan. I literally couldn't make up my mind. Maybe we could start with some greens. How about we do that? So we'll start out with the background. I've got my plate here, and the colors that I have out at this time, we're going to need ultramarine at some point in this, but probably not today. But I have phthalo green, Quin burnt scarlet, Quin gold. And by the way, I know he uses Quin gold. I remember that. So I have two yellows here. I have Quin gold and I have burnt umber, which is basically a yellow. So I suppose that we'll start out with covering some light areas. Okay. So let's make a light green. Let's make some light greens, I should say. I'm just picking up some of my phthalo. I'm going to actually have to order phthalo pretty soon. And I've gone for years on one tube. But we're getting down to the last of it. Phthalo green is so strong. Okay, so that gives us a really bright green, which is way brighter than these greens, and it's not too bad. I think we need a little bit more color in that. So we'll just add, some more Quin gold. Well, I'll tell you what, let's put a bunch of Quin gold over here, and a little bit of green into that. And then over here, I've got phthalo green, and I'm going to put some burnt umber into that. I'm pretty sure that that's what he's done. And here's what I'm going by. It's kind of an olivey color. It could have a little Quin gold in it too, but it's kind of an olivey color. And so if I had darkened this with one of the other pigments that I tend to use, like a red, say an alizarin or a Quin rose, I would get something purpley. I could probably have used my Quin burnt scarlet into that too. Whoa, 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 whoa. I think I grayed that down way too much. but it's usable for something. Okay, we'll come back to that. But now I've got 3 greens, except this really isn't green enough. Let's put a little more yellow into it. I mean, let's put a little more Queen Gold into it. There. Okay. Alrighty. You can see right in here, there's some twinkles of white showing through. So he did not cover this whole area with color, but I believe he did in here. And it looks like he sort of painted into it while it was either wet or that's a little bit of pale work on top of it, where he just got really messy with it. But it makes this activity back there that's really nice. And then over here we've got a lot richer area. This has got a little more yellow into it. It could even have some raw sienna in there. Oh, I bet it does. Okay, well, let's see what we can do. Let's do something similar. Don't hold me to getting it exactly right. This is very much like my background here. You know, these things aren't that hard to mix or to arrive at. So this can go under whatever we've got over here. You'll see he's got bits of dry brush. And right here at this edge, you can see some dry brush there. And you're welcome to be working on a bigger sheet and doing more of this. Okay, so here I'm doing a little bit of dry brush right there. What that'll wind up being like later, I don't know. But maybe some bits of that will show. I didn't mix enough paint. Okay, so this really makes... I want to keep that edge kind of clean there. Let's kind of keep that together. And then, see, you could kind of be playful here. Don't worry about being exacting. Okay, he wasn't. That's how he arrived at some of this. Let's pick up a little bit stronger green here. Oh, that is too loud. I'm going to put a little bit of burnt umber into it and a little bit more Queen Gold. Okay, that feels better. That other color was still kind of screaming phthalo green. Well, there's a little phthalo green there. Maybe I'll leave that little bit there. That's kind of nice. Let's leave some twinkles too. Well, you can cover those up later. He's got a twinkle or two in here. I think twinkles are important. So I'll go ahead and pull a little more. Oh, that's the wrong end of that. That's too loud. Okay, something like that, and then stop. Don't keep working it. Don't fill the whole thing in. Don't worry about it. Ah, there. Perfection. Or maybe. So over on this side, I said that I thought I saw some raw sienna, and I believe I do. So fortunately, I'm running out of green there. I'm going to get over here to my palette, and I'm going to pick up some raw sienna and mix that into my green. Oh, darn. That's pretty good. Okay. Oh, yeah. That's pretty darn good, if I do say so myself. Well, let's look. See, some of that runs up into his hat. I can't keep all this together where you can see all of it. And the thing is, my viewer on my iPad does not show the whole area that you probably are seeing. I think that's intended to keep me from missing anything, but it's kind of confusing for me. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to fade that a little bit, but you know what? We could pick up a little bit of that dirty green. I'm going to call that dirty green. We could pick up a little of that and put up here in the shadow of the hat. And it's going to run over into his hair. Well, let's just put a little more. Let's put a little burnt umber right in there. I did not pre-plan all this. I didn't pre-plan any of it. I couldn't figure out how. I couldn't make up my mind. Can never make up my mind. Well, that's too brown. See, that doesn't have the look. Let's just pick up some more of that dirty green. Remember, that's the one that had too much burnt umber in it when I started out. So a little shadow here behind the ear on the neck. And this is too dark. So, now that color seems strange, but remember, we're gonna have skin color coming in here, or I should say, when I say skin color, I'm saying when burnt scarlet. There, we'll do that. So when that overlays that, that's going to change it. Oh, this is drying out here. And remember, we're painting this in the winter. He painted this on a hot day, by the way. So I saw something about that in there. Or it looked like a hot day. That's what he said. So you know what? Let's see. There is an area right in here, which I don't have a drawing of. It's an area right there. I'm going to fade that edge. And I'm going to stop that passage for now. Okay. Well, you can see once again, we've got something here that looks like raw umber. And don't confuse that with raw sienna, raw umber, which is opposed to burnt umber. Burnt umber's got that reddish tone to it, red-yellow tone to it, orange tone to it, I guess we should say. And raw umber looks more of a grayed down brown. It's not quite a gray, but it's headed that way. This looks like raw umber, only it's got that green in it. Well, I don't bother keeping raw umber in my palette. I can't tell you to order every color that you could ever need. And first of all, you need to just mix them. So I'm going to take some more burnt umber. Where am I going to put it? I'll just put it over here. That's dried in there, so the burnt umber is not running into the other just yet. Ooh. It almost is. Let's just take some of that green and put in it. That green is... Whoa. Now they're running together. Okay. That's got me the color I wanted because I want that greeny gray. And I'm going to come down here on his boot. So leave a little bit of white edge on the boot. And then it gets a little browner. You know, you don't have to get all this just so. But it's a little warmer colored. Maybe not that much warmer colored. I think I have overdone it. Let's pick up some more of my greeny gray umber-like substance. Okay. Oh, this is fun. And let's soften this edge right over here because that helps indicate a little bit of a curve. I don't want to do too much softening. I don't want to overdo it. Just want to give it a little bit. If we soften everything, we lose some of the pop. Let's just soften that spot. In fact, there. That ought to stop it. Because the minute I look away, it'll do something else. And then I'm going back to my greeny gray. And I want to, here he got it, his a little paler. I sure drew the toe of that boot funny. I think I'll change that a little bit. So, maybe a little more water into that. Am I on camera? Yeah, barely. Here, let's hold that up. You know, this just kept on running. There's no law against blotting occasionally. Now, this is darker right in here. I could add that on separately or while it's wet if I have a thick enough mixture to add into it. And I actually don't have. Let's see if I can come up with something that's thick but not too brown. That's a little hard. I'm going to put a little bit of blue. This is ultramarine right out of the palette into that brown. I really don't think that's quite thick enough, but we'll try it. So the idea is if you have thicker paint, it won't run very far. It's kind of doing the thing. He's got something hanging off of here, and I think it might be some little tab on the side of the boot, so I'm going to put it there. I like that. I like that a lot. I'm so proud of myself. Okay, so we've got a shadow over here. And we've got a brown area of boot right in here. And it merges into the shadow, becomes more of this orangey brown like you have up here. Gets weak right there. Takes up a little darker here and fades out. With a back run, a beautiful back run. You can have a back run or not. You choose. Okay. This is drying really fast. I'm not even going to have to go to the dryer. So I'm picking up a little bit of brown here that's pretty strong. It's got a little bit of blue in it, but not much. That little shadow, see, that indicates our heel. I came down too far. Oh well, we'll live with it. Okay, so we're back again to picking up some more burnt umber. Got to get more burnt umber in my palette. So I recommend at the start of a session, you can spray your color down. If you're not sure what all colors you're going to use, spray them all down. Put the lid on it for a few minutes, then come back to it. When you get through with your painting session, be sure that you that you leave the lid off for a while so your paint can dry. Because if you go off for too long with keeping your paint moist, you'll wind up with mold growing in there, which is very unattractive. Although I've never tried to paint with moldy paint, there might be an advantage. Who knows? Okay, so this is my kind of my original colors that I'd pulled up. This is my mixtures. I could go to another plate here. Because I want to save those colors. Especially that one. That was dead on. And I think I've already messed it up. Okay. So I'm going to take more burnt umber. And some Quin Burnt Scarlet. I don't know how much of that I need, not much. And of course, remember our dirty green? It's gray green. I actually like that. You know, having some neutral sort of grays makes the colorful areas stand out all the more. If every area is real colorful, no area is. And when you look at this is interesting color in here. This is very interesting color. All these little changes in from this dark gray, warm gray, whatever, into a reddish brown, into a kind of a beige kind of thing there, and over here, and all these little changes in the boot. That's a really beautiful passage. Now, the thing about that is we're working to imitate him. But, of course, he didn't work this hard at this. He is in the habit of making those little color shifts as he goes. And that's one of the things that needs to become a habit. I could do a lot better job of having that be a habit. But you'll see paintings where someone just took one color and painted the pants legs and another color and painted the boots. And they may have shaded the boots, but they shaded them with the same color. And it gets really monotonous really fast. This is nice. Really, I mean, that in itself is a lesson. All right. So, oops, I need it close in because I need to look at it because I'm trying to learn to do better myself. I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo green that's real strong, and I'm going to put over here with my brown, and I'm going to get a really dark something there. My color's a little thin because it'd been better if I'd had water setting on my burnt umber longer before I pulled it up. We'll live with this. No, we won't. Let's get some stronger. I've got some thicker stuff right over here. There. That's creamy. Okay. That will do better. This is right. A little problem with my tracing right there, too. You can't even tell where the boot ends and the shadow starts. And you don't need to know. However, this little part on the heel of the boot, that's lighter than what I just put down. How can I fix it now? Well, just by adding a little water in there and give it a little blot there. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to go to the browner area of our mixture here. See, that's great when you've got a plate like this and you can mix. If you don't have too much color in here where it all runs together, you can mix color and have one color move over into another, and you've got all these different places to pick up from, so you can vary your color. If you have a habit of laying your color out like this, you'll be able to do things like this with almost without thinking. at least once it gets to be a habit. Now let's pick up some of that brown, burnt umber, and let's put a little red into it. Not too much. There we go. Now, we need to add some water to this. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't wash out my brush well enough. Actually, I need fresh water. Now, instead of changing color, or pigments, I should say, we're just going to get paler. This also defines the heel of the boot. I just messed up the shape a little bit. There we go. That looks a little too chopped up. He's got some twinkles in his, but mine is over twinkled. You don't want over twinkling. Right. Okay. There. You know, I'm going to just... Okay. So, now what we need to do is pick up some color here on the other side. He definitely did that at a different time. And so his color changed again. And I don't think it needs to there. I'm going to use my same color. You don't have this in your drawing, I don't think. You just need to add it in. Okay. So there we've got a real difference in color and value. And then let's just pull it out sideways. And let's go back to our dirty green kind of stuff-ish. I have a suspicion that there ought to be a shadow coming back this way, because his legs should be casting a shadow across there, but I'm not going to do it. I don't like that little jagged end on that. That's just there. Okay. This, again, I've got a little shape there that's funny. And I'm going to, there's a little more pale something coming up the leg here. Maybe I didn't get that shape quite right, because I drew something odd right there. Oh, by the way, there is no original photo for this. We are working from this, so I traced from this too, which it doesn't blow up large very well, because it's tiny in the book. I'm surprised we were able to get this out of it. Okay, I'm very pleased with that. If you would learn this one thing and make a habit of just this in your paintings, you will make a quantum leap in the way your paintings look. Remember what I was talking about having various colors in here, and it helps if they're a little on the creamy side, so that you can, because here we don't have a big super wet puddle like we do a lot of the time. Here we're changing color frequently, and so the idea is for these colors not to be so wet that they all just blend in together, because you want to keep that variety of color laying out here. Okay, let's look at these pants. Okay, hold up here a minute. I need to wet down some blue some more. Okay, so I didn't quite finish the boot, because the boot needs a little more definition. Now, some of the definition is the negative space right here behind the boot. But also there's a little bit of top to the boot right there. And I missed it. So it's kind of that beigey, indefinite whatever. And you could make it whatever you wanted, but I wouldn't make it the reddish brown because that's not the rest of what's on the boot. Plus, there's reddish brown right back in here. Although that's reddish brown. Okay, never mind what I said. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that kind of grayish whatever, and I want to keep it pretty pale. In fact, that's got a little bit of dry brush effect to it. Well, I didn't get it. He's better than I am. Duh. He's got a speck of something there too. It's just a speck, but it's a nice speck. Okay. And then this is a little browner. In fact, this is a reddish brown, but I just made it brown. So that's that shadow on the inside of the boot. There. Okay. Now let's go to the pants. I've got a lot of blue here. Oh, it's thin, so it's running, and I'm trying to not let them run together here. Well, I don't know why I'm trying to let them not run together here. I actually could use a little bit of this into my blue because it shouldn't be that bright of a blue. You know, someone says blue and we think blue, we think something like this. And so don't let the words define the color. There are so many shades of stuff. That's kind of a blue-gray. I think it's probably still a little too blue, but I'm going to use it and we'll see. Of course, I could test it on something, you know. So he's got his shadow right there. Oh, that's way too dark. And I don't want that kind of ending on it. I'd rather it ended like tails off like a brush stroke. There. Okay, well, that wasn't all that great. It'll do. I would like it if it was just a little bit grayer. If I had just add a little more of this to it. And the idea of just adding a little more of this to it instead of doing a totally different mixture is just that integrates it in. It makes it a little more like the other things in the picture. A little more, but not too much. And what I also needed, though, was to add some water and thin this down. So he's got a little spot right there, too. Oops, I ran it over the boot. Okay. And then up here, he has a soft molded area, which is, I believe, actually, he's run over here. Okay, so we need a soft-edged something, and this stops at the knee. I've pulled it down a little too far. Okay, so this has a soft blended edge, and let's just give this a soft blended edge here too. Now, this leg, if you look at the drawing, this leg looks like it's one long bent leg running into the other leg rather than a crotch here, which you got to have a crotch, you know. So he has added in later a deeper shadow that differentiates that some. I'm going to leave that like that for right now. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now, this has to get dry. Okay, we'll come back to that next time. And we'll take our greens, because we already have our greens mixed up here, waiting on us. Some of y'all don't have as many plates as I do. And let's see, can I put this down here like this? Will that work? Okay, so he just got some splashes of stuff that make some shapes. This area right in here gets darker and more interesting before he ever even adds this dark in. Here's a splash here that is lighter than these. If you study this splash on your splash, it's a big wet brush stroke. If you study that, what you will see is that it was most of the way dry, though not all the way dry when he added this area in. Okay. So that tells us that we're going to, I don't know what we're going to do. Here's some more Quinn Gold. Some more green, just some more Quinn Gold. I can never get enough Quinn Gold. This really does get darker in through parts of this. And then some areas get a little more almost reddish. He just kind of dabbles around in here. Like that, okay? And then he might pick up some of this red, and I think it's got brown with it. And add in a little here. That's kind of stronger than his. You know what? I'm going to leave it. Let's just add a little water right there. Weaken it. Let it run into this a little bit. Do strange things. Let's take, remember this area we were just talking about? That's almost a stamping down with a brush like that. Get you that kind of shape. Here's some more shape right here. This is actually the top of this bench, which makes no sense if it is. But it doesn't have to make sense. Not everything has to be totally logical in this world. And here, what do I want to do? I think he's got a real dark edge there. I think what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to add water to these edges. I'm trying to keep my twinkles. Some semblance of twinkleism. Okay. Just that. Just stuff like this feels organic. You know, your brain kind of reads that as organic. I want that to run into this. And then I think I want to stop right there. I'm going to add some water to that edge, although I don't really have to, because we're going to put something so dark on top of it that it won't matter. Well, there. You know what? I don't have room for all the splatters he's got in his, but I'm going to splatter this one little area right there. Oh, that immediately says organic and interesting. It gives you those little pops of dark. It's a different size. It's not that big dark. It gives you those little. Ooh, it just adds excitement. Okay. You can almost never go wrong that way. I'm liking this. Okay, so let's go back to, you know, a medium olive green. It's got a lot of Quinn Gold in it. Is that too bright? Would it be better if we did something else to it? You decide. Thing is, all this stuff dries duller than it starts out. Let's put a little more green into it. That, remember, that was super, right here it looks okay, but on the paper it needed taming down. So I'm going to just add it in over here. And this area is lighter I don't want to kill all of this light area in here out either. I'll just do something like that. Here, that needs an interesting shape there. Okay, let me check the time here. Okay, I think we've got time to do this leg. So I've got a lot of strong blue mixed up somewhere. Here it is. Right there. Oh, it's been drying some too, so it's stronger. That's good. I think we will take some burnt umber. I've got some here. I might could use it. It might should be just a little bit stronger. Okay. So what I've done is that's been sitting wet for so long that I can take my round brush and mush it down into the paint and pull up color. And by mush it down, I mean I do it like that. So I'm never damaging the tip. Let's take a little bit of this blue. We'll take the blue-green and put in this because that brown is just a little too brown. There, it's a little less orangey, I should say. Let's put a little more. Oh, darn. Okay. I'll live with that. And that's sort of a medium value there. See, it's kind of runny. Okay, let's see what this does. Oh. Well, yeah, that's pretty close. It could be a little bit. It could probably, I should probably kill the burnt umber back a little too much. And you could do this with a smaller brush. If that makes you happier. By the way, I think he's holding a cigarette in that picture, but it's hard to tell, and times have changed since this was painted. Thank goodness. All right, so what I'm doing is I think I'm going to leave some open area here. I'm filling this in with pretty juicy paint. There, see, I left a little white there for the top of the boot. Okay. Let's wash that brush out, or you could have just picked up a different brush. You can save a lot of paint that way. And I am charging in this blue, this strong blue, into this other color. And where I've left some areas light, that just gives the blue a little more chance to be noticeable. Let's pull some of it up here too. I think that'll show up when it's dry. So then we're going to do the same thing. A little more blue there. This French ultramarine, which granulates a lot, really, it really dries. It gets drier and more crumbly than some of your other pigments when you dry it in the palette. So same color, same original brown, whatever stuff. And, okay, we come over to here. I don't have my picture in the frame right now, but you can follow yours. This guy looks like he's got arthritis like me. Look at that knuckle. I'm kidding. I think that's just coincidence. The life of an arthritic cowboy would be rough. Imagine riding a horse with arthritis. Jeez. Okay, I'm putting some blue into this too. And then we're going to come back with a darker value on that next week. I'm going to weaken that edge a little bit because his is, and I like it. Okay. That's this week's lesson. I would strongly suggest that you, by the way, this is going to get a brushed in outline of black right along there next week. I would, wait. Let's take a little of that and, well, that doesn't make any sense there, but we could add a little. All right, in there if we wanted to. Okay, so I would strongly suggest that maybe you just trace an area like this off on a couple of times on some scraps and play with doing this. This is one of the most entertaining things for myself that I've done in quite a while, and I really enjoyed it. But I also think that this is such a valuable lesson. You can see how these are all kind of fall into the category of neutrals. But they look very colorful next to each other. But they're all kind of in that close to gray family. Maybe not quite so much right there or there, but close. So I would suggest practicing this. And this nice little soft edge right there really makes a difference. Not having very many soft edges, but then occasionally when you do, it's nice. Okay, that's it. I'll see you later.